Good morning to all. Let me start off with this particular topic, especially on the validity and reliability, as a request from some of my scholars, I would say, and they were really interested to understand, what exactly do we mean by reliability, what exactly is validity. So I took some time, especially to understand what exactly is validity and what exactly is validity and reliability, and how we are supposed to look at these two particular concepts when we are talking about the research instruments or the scales. Now, while I was trying to study, I had to literally read some of the papers, raise certain questions. Why only reliability? What do we mean by validity? And should we focus only on the instruments, or is there, I would say, a process right from the identification and selection of your variables to the setting of your objectives, and from the objectives how you are designing your questionnaire, and in the questionnaire also what kind of questions should be present, and while you have designed the questionnaire also, are you literally using those items directly, or through the items or the statements which are there, you are developing a construct at the level of the questionnaire itself, and are you doing the coding, recoding also at that time or not? All these things you will see are present in this one. However, when my focus turned towards reliability, I mean, I took it for granted that yes, my scholars were able to understand what reliability is. Forget about validity, it's a long process and we will be focusing on it. Now, when I saw reliability and I looked at them, I gave them the work. Okay, why don't you start off and showing me how do you do reliability, and how do you test for that? And then I understood that after a couple of minutes, and they were unable to give me what I really wanted to understand. So I had to keep a full stop over there, come up with my own things, and I had a series of questions like, what is reliability, why reliability, how many kinds of reliability tests are there, how do we do it in SPSS, or how do we do, like I am focusing more on R and Python rather than any other, I would say, the tools which are present for the for our research analysis, data analysis. So when I was looking at R, Python, how are they looking at reliability, or even if I go to SPSS, which is the most popular one and that had been in the market for quite some time, how things are taking place, how do we understand Cronbach alpha or Pearson, or the KT that we have got, how do you understand the version 20 and 21, how do these things fit in together, and why we should do it, and what are the, or even to this extent that because I believe in multidisciplinary, I had to look as to how the management department or the department of business studies is looking into it, or how psychology looks into it, from where reliability and validity test comes in. Forget about the qualitative aspect of validity and reliability, that I wanted to focus later on. Now when I jumped into the quantitative area for this particular search, I came across a lot of information which was somehow missing in the videos that I was looking up. Okay, now we understand, okay, I have to pick up this thing. However, the questionnaire has got different kinds of questions into it. So I had to literally jump from one video to the another one to understand how am I supposed to understand the concept of reliability itself. So I had to literally knock the doors of some of the individuals who are experts on of quantitative research, and I was surprised the way I was welcomed, rather than making me wait to understand. They started sharing their literature, they started sharing their books, from the books which part of the book I'm supposed to focus upon, if I am going into the Likert scale questions, or let's say MCQ questions or binary questions, if I'm looking into why split test and why test and retest, what is the actual meaning of it, rather than just entering into it, and whether there are more tests apart from these ones only. Forget about validity, I'm not going to focus so much on validity as of now in some of the few videos which are going to be there. First, my focus will be on reliability. So one of the papers which was shared with me was this one, and it was like a hot chocolate bonanza for me. Why hot chocolate bonanza? Because I love hot chocolates, especially if you go to Nirula's, you will be finding in Delhi, I'm talking about. Now this particular paper which was published in I would say January. Now the title itself, you can look into it, is basically validity and reliability of the research instrument, how to test the validation of a questionnaire survey in a research. Now what am I going to do it is, the way I went ahead, I'll be showcasing the same sequence, because I raise a lot of questions and my queries should not only satisfy me mentally, however it should give me the right answer, so that I'm able to hit my own research and help my own scholars to proceed further. So this was one of the paper, and this is published by Hamid Tahadous, and he's from the University of Canada West. And here the published, it was in January 26th. Why I'm referring to this particular paper, you will see that it's a very easy paper. Number one, difficult jargons, very simple and very easily understandable. Now his question is basically on research instrument. If you look at it, then he's talking about the questionnaire survey validity, questionnaire content validity, face validity, blah blah blah. Now here you can also look that yes, he is talking about validity as such out here. Then he is he has referred to Andy Field's book, that is Discovering Statistics through SPSS, and that was published in 2005, way long back. And now as you see, his other books are also there, and he does talk. So my interaction with him was not only through his videos, even the mails, and through the mail was able to refer me, guide me to read certain portions. And not only that, there were certain papers that he also shared, which he uses as an activity in teaching his own students, which I'll be showcasing to you, and how to understand them, and that makes you learn more also side by side. So here if we come into it, one part of it that he is I mean you can look in this particular paper is basically on the varieties of the thing that you have got, especially let's say at the validity, reliability of the research instrument, and that is by Hamid. And here we have seen the validity, what he means by that, taken from the Field's book, that is Andy Field's book, and how he is discussing about different types of validity, which we can also look at here, or maybe I'll be reading it line by line later on. However, right now the focus is exclusively on the reliability. Now here you will see he is given a very beautiful thing which has been shared by Dr. Neeraj Kaushik sir also, and validity criterion phase. Now I said that I'm not focusing as of now, so I'm just showcasing to you my why I called this one to be as a hot chocolate bonanza. Reason, I'm coming directly to the place. This I will read it later on step by step, and to understand how to go ahead and know certain things. Trust me, this was like a eye-opening paper for me. It really helped me to understand certain things. Now before we can talk about validity, which takes a lot of time, I want to focus on the topic of what we call it as the reliability. Here he says that very clearly concerns the extent to which measurement of a phenomenon provides stable and consistent result. Now these are exactly the words which I give a lot of importance to. Number one. Number two, and he has referred to the paper Carmines and Zellers 1979. Just pick up it. I'm not going to showcase to you. I had to read even this paper to understand what is the meaning of, let's say here when I'm talking about measurement of phenomenon providing stability and a consistent result. What exactly is the definition and what do they mean by that? I literally had to go back and read this particular paper. Then he says after that, reliability is also concerned with repeatability and why one should repeat it. What is the reason behind it? He also discusses. For example, a scale or a test is said to be reliable if repeat measurement made by it under constant conditions will give you the same result. And this was by Moser and Calton 1989. Can you see the jump? Exactly 10 years, 1979 to 1989. Pick up this particular paper. It's also a very interesting one, and the authors have really made you understand what do you mean by repeat measurement, number one, under the constant condition, so that you are able to know as to how to make those items or the statements even in your let's say the questionnaire, that the scale that you are developing over there, you must be able to understand. Now this is where I hit these two particular papers to understand that also. Testing, then he says that testing for reliability is important as it refers to the consistency across the parts of measuring instrument, and this is now Huck 2007. Can you see the development that is taking place? 1979, 1989, then 2007. Then he is saying a scale is said to have high internal consistency reliability if the items of the scale hang together, just like friends hang together in the evening time. The best time is when you're standing together, all of you having a plate of bhel puri or sev puri, or even no matter for that, even golgappas. All of you are enjoying, or if you are meeting in a cafe, especially over a cup of coffee, hot coffee. Now if you entered into Costa Coffee Day, it hits your brain, and the conversations that takes place really are very interesting. Now the same together, the concept of how do they hang together. Okay, and now sometimes when I'm reading, let's say a paper, a questionnaire was given with a set of data sheet and the objectives were given. Now when I look to see whether we are with each other or not, I raise the questions. From where did they get the variables? Now, how did they come up with these objectives? Number two. Number three, when they are designing the questionnaire, are they fitting in properly? Because you should. It cannot be randomly. You can say, okay, I have read that particular paper or a secondary source, and then from there I have taken this one. However, you should understand that yes, it is going to be a construct for you. So, is it a explanatory kind of a thing that you are looking for? So all these things also matter to you. So don't take it for granted when you are designing your questionnaire or you are looking at somebody's questionnaire. The measure of the same construct, this is Huck 2007, Robinson 2009. And one of my mentors, he keeps on saying that when you are reading a particular paper, also read what references they have given and pick up those references for yourself and try to understand what things are taking place in those referred papers also. The most important and commonly used internal consistency measure is Cronbach alpha coefficient. Now, if Cronbach alpha coefficient is the most important one, which everybody says Cronbach alpha, Cronbach alpha, Cronbach alpha. Now, the question arises, how many of you really understand what is Cronbach alpha coefficient and how to render those meanings also and where we can get it? Now, it is viewed as the most appropriate measure of reliability when making use of Likert scale. Now the question arises, how to apply this to non-Likert scales? Can you apply for that? Now why and in what manner is something that you can read it through Whitley 2007, Robinson 2009 to know is it only for the Likert scale, and what about the non-Likert scale your questionnaire items then? How do you go further into it? No absolute rules exist for internal consistencies. However, most agree on a minimum external consistency coefficient of 0.70, which I'll show you one of the popular which was referred, and this is by Whitley 2002 and Robinson 2009. They are referring to. Now I'll show you later on, which I picked it up from one of the blog, not the blog, I would say one of the data analysis company only, which focuses, and we will look into it later on. Now for an exploratory or pilot study, okay, remember when you are doing the exploration or the pilot, it is suggested that reliability should be equal or above 6.0, and here he has taken Straub et al 2004. Now the one that I'm talking about, it says even if your study is between 0.60 to 7, it is highly questionable. Now I'm making it very clear, and I will show it to you later on as to why they say it is highly questionable kind of a thing. Now when I was reading one of the questionnaire last night, and I saw that immediately it was falling, it was above 0.60 and between 0.60 and 0.65. So I literally wanted to know if the alpha score is coming between this and this. At that time, render the meaning of the Cronbach alpha value to be. And while I was searching across the websites or the videos or the books, I came to know that if the value is between 0.60 and 0.65, I'm literally telling you using these numbers, they said that your questionnaire is highly questionable. Now my question was, what are these questionable, what do you mean by questionable? Now you understood how my questions are coming in. Now as I keep entering into it, I saw that what are these questions? Why are you saying that yes, your questionnaire is highly questionable? Is it just the questionnaire, or it has to do with the variables and the other things which are associated? Let's say first I'll go ahead with the variables, then the relationship between the variables that you are trying to construct in your questionnaire, or it has to do the other things which are associated with the variables, and we will find it out how these things are coming in, and ultimately what exactly is happening to your own questionnaire. So these things are I'm going in a reverse order rather than from questionnaire. Most of the time what happens, we go from questionnaire to the testing of our reliability of that particular thing. However, I went the other way around. I got this particular questionnaire. Now when I was I took it for granted that yes, my scholars were able to understand, and they were feeling very happy if they are receiving the value of 91, or I have seen sometimes when you are looking variable by variable, it was coming as 79 or more than even 0.8, and I'm not entering into the details. I took it for granted, okay, they are aware of it. However, the moment I hit the questionnaire with this particular value, that is 0.64 as the Cronbach alpha, I was stuck. I was thinking, how am I supposed to render this one? Then, I went through and I started searching everything, and the moment it fall on my eyes that yes, your questionnaire is highly questionable. I had to literally dig my own grave to understand it. So this is how the journey started off. So Hinton et al. In 2004, now if I come to that, have suggested 4 cutoff points for reliability, which includes excellent reliability, that is 0.90 and above, high reliability for this one, moderate reliability for 0.50 to 0. This one, and low if it is 0.50 and below, and this is 2004. Although reliability is important, it is not sufficient unless combined with the validity. Now this particular author is telling you. However, I have seen that even in the documentation that you get for SPSS, they have said that start off with the reliability first and then go for valid test, not the other way around, that first you will perform the validity and then you will go to reliability. First focus on the reliability. And now my question arises, why this way? Because majority of them, they started off their journey with the validity, later on they were talking about the reliability, so that turned out to be the one. However, when SPSS manual, when I was looking into it, and they were saying, and not only SPSS, some of my expert friends who are there, when they also said, no Ramani, you cannot start off with the validity, start off with the reliability first, then then my question understood. Okay, so we have to give importance. So this one is not sufficient one, I will not agree to it. I will say first reliability and then go with the validity. In other words, for a test to be reliable, it also needs to be valid. So R, in that way, R plus V together have to be present for you. Table 2 compares the validity components for us. So let's go further and see what is the table 2. Oh yes, this is my bonanza which I was talking about, and I love this particular table because it really helped me to understand certain things in quantitative research for myself. Have a look at it. Now he says the table 2 is basically comparison of validities that are undertaken in the research source. Now this is for him, and he has taken it from Straub et al., which is published in 2004, Antimia et al. In 2003, Vishwanathan, yes, Vishwanathan also has done 2005, which I'll show you his table, and Engat et al. In 2016. All the 4 papers, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5th is this one. So 5 papers together helped me to understand, and that's why I said, like, if you see a hot chocolate glass, you will find it out that yes, there you have got what you call it as the first with the ice cream, the hot chocolate syrup is there, lot of nuts are there, and while you're eating layer by layer, you relish it more and more. This is exactly what is happening. So let's look into it step by step. First is the validity component, though they are talking about the reliability also. What is the definition, type of it, we will understand, and the technique that has been suggested. Now this is something that I really wanted to know. Why face validity, and what is it that I'm going to get? And suppose saying, if I have the items, what kind of a test I should do? If I have a cheat sheet in front of me, I know that yes, this is what I'm supposed to take care of it. So here you will see in front of us that you have got a table which really discusses about these things. Okay, now first and foremost is the let's talk about the face validity. What do you mean by that? Extent that the measurement instrument items linguistically and analytically look alike. What is supposed? Now I'm not going to talk, however, the definitions and these things, this I'll be coming while I'm discussing about the face validity and content validity, etc., etc. Now the type is this is what is important for me. Recommended, Okay, content validity is highly recommended for you. Now construct discriminant validity is mandatory for us. Okay, now construct convergent validity is again mandatory. Criterion, now sometimes scholars ask, do I have to do validity? Now I look at their face, I said yes. Now the question on their face, though they don't have that kind of a boldness to stand up and ask why we should do it. Now here is the answer that comes to you, and that's why I'm sharing it. That you see, it's not just like that only we are doing the validity or the reliability test just like that. The reason is how these things have come in for us. That is also something which is important. Criterion predictive validity, it's mandatory. And lastly but not the least, you will see criterion concurrent validity is mandatory for us. Criterion post-dictive validity is mandatory. Many of us, we just stop at the predictive validity. Here comes in what I will say post-dictive also, and the other kind of validities are also there. I'll be showcasing them, all of them together to you, one after the other, and then I will jump into the discussion and the practical implementation of it with the data set. Then comes irreliability for the internal consistency. This we have done. This also I just introduced it. It is again mandatory. Now let's look. I'm going backward because I have to focus more on reliability, internal consistency. Now if you look at the last column of this particular table, it says technique that is suggested. Now this is what I wanted to share with the world of the scholars and the faculties who think that, because sometimes when I'm discussing with them, okay, can you tell me face validity? Okay, then which technique has to be chosen? Now I don't know, sometimes it has to be on tips. Now across the videos which I have been watching, I could not see that, though the hint was given that okay, for this particular thing you need to do it. Now here comes in the reference for us, which tells you very clearly that when you are going ahead with face validity, it is for the post hoc theory, expert assessment of items. Now we all go ahead with the expert studies also, right? Expert test, and we take their opinions and everything, and then we go. So when you are taking care of the assessment of the items, you need to apply the face validity. And which is the best one? Here they're talking about Cohen's kappa index. This is the important thing. Similarly, when you are talking about the content validity, it is the literature review, that is number one. Expert panels or judges which are there. CVRs, we will see what CVRs are. The person has really introduced the CVR also out here. The full form of CVR that he is discussing basically has been given to this one, that is content validity ratio, proposed by Loche in 1975. It's a linear transformation of the proportional level of agreement on how many experts within a panel rate an item, essential calculated in a following way. Now there is another video of mine which will be uploaded very soon on the expert opinions, or how to design for them, what kind of things are required. That is also very much necessary. However, this particular paper discusses about the CVR, that is Loche's method, especially for this one, and then the entire thing has been given to us. Now if you so this is where you have got the meaning of it and how you will be understanding, and even for Q sorting. Now see, I cannot explain everything in just one video, so there would be another video, and when I'll be discussing about content validity, I'll be discussing about these things also which are available. Now when I come to the construct discriminant validity, the techniques that they suggest is basically MTMM, PCA, CFA, PLS, AVE, okay, and Q sorting. So these are the ones that they are talking about. Now if you really want to know what exactly is MTMM. So here, okay, they haven't defined it. I'll be showcasing it to you later on, and then you can also know what it is. Now when I'm talking about the construct convergent validity, again they are talking about MTMM, PCA, CFA and Q sorting. Criterion predictive validity, it is for regression analysis and discriminant analysis. If you are doing that, or if you are not doing it, I would say you are going to perform the validity test, correct? So these are the tests that you have got, and you can understand that yes, these are the techniques that would be coming in. And this one for criterion concurrent validity, it is the correlation analysis. If you come for a criterion post-dictive validity, it would be correlation analysis. When you talk about reliability internal consistency, then you can see it is basically these three. Now you should be able to understand, the moment you are going ahead with reliability internal consistency for your own questionnaire, so it will be what? Cronbach's alpha, then correlation, SEM reliability coefficients. Now you understood why I said this particular paper. It was like an eye-opening thing for me, and I said fabulous paper. Now something which really helped me to relish and give answers to the world of I would say scholars and the faculties who really would like to know as to what exactly the validity and reliability is there. And if you have got so many validity and reliability tests, also we will see the different kinds of reliability tests also which are there, and how to understand them and how to go further step by step. I'll be looking above, and I've started this one, and I was looking at my scholars. You are not only doubling my work, in fact I have to move away from the world of teaching for some time and just focus, and thanks to my teachers who said that Ramani, only you can do this thing because you have learned and you have invested nearly 3.5 years to 4 years with learning from experts like Dr. Neeraj Kaushik sir, CP Gupta sir, Ajay Chauhan sir, Asha ma'am, Seema Malik ma'am, or others are also present. And however, my majority of my investment was towards attending very seriously Dr. Neeraj Kaushik's faculty development programs, training session. He's giving you sometimes free workshops, whatever it is, irrespective of it. Sometimes I had the difficulty also, still I could manage it, and my parents when they were there, I would say that they literally were surprised. What's wrong with our daughter that she is like a mad person going away? Now I said, I don't know. Now when I looked, I remember it very well. This was the South Asian Universities Journal, and I was sitting in the library. Maximum of the time when I'm not teaching, I'm usually in the library. And when I was going through this particular journal which focused on the film studies, I saw this particular diagram, and I said, how could they do that? Now that prompted me to pull away, and thanks to the person who introduced me to Neeraj Kaushik's community, that is data analysis group. And when I started, I right now I literally regret that the earlier workshops I couldn't attend, though I was aware of it. And later on I became adamant. I said, no, I have to learn these things at any cost, from in and out, and I have to go. And now when I come over here, I was literally in front of my teacher, and he asked me, what's troubling you? I said, sir, I don't know, something is literally not right, and I think I better stop teaching for a while and enter into the world of research, totally dedicating it, and I would like to go ahead. Then he looked at me, and he said that, Ramani, who can stop you? If you have decided, nobody in this world can stop you. So you should go and go ahead and start observing. And thanks to Neeraj sir, yes, some of his videos have been really eye-opening ones for me. And the way I went across and I got introduced to Andy Field, Momin sir, or Kashif sir, Bashir sir on the other hand, and Hiram sir, Ramaiah sir also. When I'm interacting with these individuals, I was again, I could see they are so prompt in responding to you and giving away the knowledge to you, that sometimes I feel I have to learn these skills also. So I have seen they are very down to earth, and I also have thought, decided now that yes, I should, and go ahead, and this is how I'm going to start uploading certain videos which takes me to the minutest of the level to understand what exactly is taking place, and then move ahead with the higher levels of the research also. So this is something which was missing, and I thought, okay, let me share it with all of you. So I think I'm going to stop here with this introduction of the table, which is like a hot chocolate treat for each one of you. And now we understand that yes, if I have to do face validity, do not write just like that in your theses or dissertations or paper publications that yes, I went over, I conducted face validity. Then you are prompting the editor or the invigilator to ask the question. So tell me, did you perform post hoc theory? Show me what is the expert's assessment of the item, or show me even Cohen's kappa index. So if you are going ahead with face validity, try to remember that you are even performing these techniques. Similarly, if you are with content validity, then you should remember that these are the ones that you are going to focus upon in your thesis and the publications also. So the entire paper is in front of you, and you can also have a look at it, study, keep this one as it is on your study table, I would say, or your computer, and keep referring it again and again whenever you are using these validity test or these reliability test. So I think I'm going to stop here, and let me come up with yet another video wherein I'll be talking about more, and that would be I'm starting off with reliability, and then I'll be taking you to the validity. Till then, thank you and take care. Bye.